Hello students. In this session, we are going to discuss a very tricky question from the chapter number 2 banking. So this question is basically finding time period n. Generally most people find it difficult simply because it has a quadratic equation involved with some huge numbers. So let us go ahead and tackle it. So the question is, Jaspreet has a recurring deposit account in a bank and deposits rupees 400 per month. If he receives rupees 10,100 at the time of maturity, find the time for which the account is held if the rate of interest is 5% per annum. So a lot of information is given to us. The principal is given to us 400 rupees. We also have the rate of interest. The rate of interest is 5%, and the maturity value is given to us. It is 10,100. So once we have all this information, we can go ahead with the formula for maturity value. So the formula for maturity value is equal to P into N plus P into N plus 1 upon 2 into 12 into R upon 100. So we will be using this formula. We'll substitute everything that we have, and time period N over here is missing. So we'll find time period N. So maturity value is 10,100. So on the left we start with 10,100 equal to P into N. So P is 400. So 400N plus P is 400. This is N into N plus 1 upon 2 into 12 into R over here is 5 upon 100. I want you to go ahead with the cancellation of this interest part. You can cut the two zeros. 4 ones are, 4 threes are, which means in the numerator 5 is left. Denominator will be 2 into 3, which is 6. So you copy 10,100 equal to 400N plus this will now become 5 by 6 N into N plus 1. So this is the equation that we have. Now comes the most important, the most crucial step. At this junction, most people will mess up. And I'll tell you what is the common mistake made by most people. Most students will directly take the 6 on the left hand side and multiply it with 10,100. Now if you are wondering what is wrong in that, well then you are one of those people I was talking about. So here the mistake is that you have to take LCM first. You cannot take 6 on the other side unless the other term also has the same denominator. 400n does not have a denominator, which means we'll first have to divide it with 6. That is take LCM, and once we have a common denominator 6, then we can cross multiply with that 6. So here we have to first multiply this with 6 and then you can cross multiply. When you multiply this with 6, this will become 2400n plus over here we can open the brackets. 5n into n will be 5n square, 5n into 1 will be 5n, and the whole is upon 6. Now we have a common denominator 6. At this point you can cross multiply the 6. We can now take the 6 and multiply with 10,100. So that makes it 60,600. And here we have 5n square plus 2400n plus 5n is 2405n. So we get the final quadratic. We'll have to divide everything by 5. Take this number on the other side, and the final quadratic will be n square plus 481n equal to 12120. Take this on the other side. This is the final quadratic. N square plus 481n minus 12120 is equal to 0. Now most students who can manage the LCM part will reach up to this point, but then there is a section of students which will struggle with splitting the middle term simply because we have huge numbers over here. So one thing which I want everyone to understand is that the answer of finding time period questions is generally, when I say generally, 9 out of 10 questions, it's going to be either 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, which means n will either be 12 months or 24 or 36. This is one thing which you need to keep in mind. Second thing what we'll also do is, we'll start with the prime factorization of this, that is 12120. Because the number ends in 0, many students will have this tendency of starting with 5. But in these questions of banking, don't do that. You always start with 2, then you go to 3, and then to 5, and so on. And here you have to keep one thing in mind, that the answer is going to be very close to this middle term, which is 481. We will stop at a point where the number is quite close enough to 481. So here, we'll start with 2, we'll divide with 2, we'll get 6060. You divide again with 2, you'll get 3030. You might be tempted to start with 3 now, but I will not do that. I'll still divide with 2, and that will give me 1515. And now I'll move to 3 and not 5. Just follow the sequence. If you don't follow the sequence, it will become very difficult. I'll follow the sequence, I'll divide by 3, I'll get 505. Now here students comes the catch. This number 481 is quite close to 505. So I am not going to prime factorize it further. I'll just wait and check. I'll check 2 into 2 into 2 into 3. This gives me 24. And the difference of 505 and 24 is 481. So here students, I'm not going to prime factorize it further. Most students, what they do is, they'll completely prime factorize, that is they'll divide further this with 5 and so on, but then you will be stuck. So ideally, you should follow the sequence. You start with 2, then you move to 3, then you move to 5 and so on, and stop at the point where the number is quite close enough to the middle term. So here I have got the factors, it's 505 and 24. I'm sure everyone knows what's to be done after that. This will be plus 505n minus 24n minus 12120 is equal to 0. You can take common and you'll get two answers. One will be negative 505, other will be 24. Our final answer will be n is equal to 24, which means it's 2 years. Another rule in board is that whenever we have a finding time period question, final answer has to be in years and not in months.